At the last ContinuuCon, Ed Eagan introduced the idea of the Specialty Synth, which has since been relabeled EaganMatrix Overlays. This is a result of expanding the EaganMatrix to expose a lot more of the interface so that it can be controlled by an external program or controller that can send the appropriate CC MIDI messages to affect the changes that you need in the program. This interface is still being worked, and it will be available in the next major release. I thought I'd take a crack at doing something similar to what Ed did in his ContinuuCon presentation, only I'm going to take a little bit different spin on it here. The new EaganMatrix version will allow for a lot more parameters to be defined and exposed to external interfaces. You can see here that the formulas have basically been doubled so that we have A to V as we did originally in the current software, and that's been expanded to include A prime to V prime. These can be inserted into the matrix by selecting the appropriate option. The main change from the external access perspective is that in addition to the original 6 macro controllers that right now are accessible externally with CC12 to CC17, 96 macro controls are now possible for external interface. The program still exposes the same 6 internal ones, but now when we select a formula, we have a lot more macro controls that we can assign to it. These are defined from macro control 7 through the end as 14-bit bipolar controls. The original 6 of them can be defined as they are currently as 7-bit unipolar controls, or you can create a 14-bit unipolar control out of them as well. The interface turns these into 14-bit controls by placing CC86 before half of them and CC97 before the other half to allow a possible total of 96 of these new controls. When we take a look at the interface, you can see copying formula to formula. We can copy now all of the possible formulas, and these controls also can be applied to X, Y, and Z now for additional programming interface support. Blend also can use all the new formulas. You can also blend directly on one of these new macro controls. Now perhaps this interface may change a bit from what I'm showing you, but the important thing I'm trying to get across is that for all those who have been asking for more controls, both on their continuum-based devices and the Osmos, this new strategy will allow external programs to manipulate so many parameters that you'll never have to go in and make EaganMatrix modifications. The idea is that these overlays are so all-inclusive now that each one of them is a sonic world in itself with complete external control, which can be a graphic interface in some program you write, or if you have a controller like the Electra One that you can program and output any arbitrary MIDI information. That also is a viable option for controlling your presets. As a simple example, I created what I labeled the simple additive preset. This takes 5 oscillators and uses them as basically additive harmonics. Each oscillator's harmonic can be set with a multiplier. This uses the standard original macros. I only need a value from 1 to 10 here for this example, so I don't need 14-bit resolution on these. The amplitude of each of my oscillators in this additive set can be individually set externally now. This is something I've always wanted in the interface. With only 6 macro controllers up to this point, there is limited control you can define for an additive operation like this. But now each of the harmonics is controlled externally. The amplitude of each harmonic is controlled externally. I've even self-modulated each oscillator by itself. That can be controlled externally. I use a sum delay, and the input from each of the oscillators into that sum delay can be controlled externally. The output of the delay can be controlled. The feedback, the time of the delay, virtually every parameter that I've defined here. I even allow you to change the timbre on each of the oscillators to get a more complex sound than just having them be adding sine wave. Every parameter is exposed externally, and I have only used about 30 of the 96 here. You can also see I have used some of the new formulas because I ran out of formulas using the original set, so I started adding some of the new ones. As you can see, there's plenty of room here to do other things, but this is just a simple example, kind of like what Ed did in his presentation. And now what we want to do is look at our controller and see how easy it is to change every parameter in this preset so that there's really no need to go into the preset anymore and modify it. And the idea is if we create enough of these presets and have enough of these external interfaces either defined so other people can write them or write them ourselves, either as graphic programs, possibly as plugins now that you can attach to a DAW, or as something that you can control with an external program MIDI controller. This creates the opportunity to never have to worry about programming the EaganMatrix for a lot of people who will have a lot of choices now to play these new interfaces. Now, instead of writing a Max program like Ed did in his presentation, what I'm going to do is use this wonderful Electra One MIDI controller and program that so that its GUI has a representation of all the parameters that I need arranged logically so that I can easily change things on the fly. I have the 5 partials defined, the 5 amplitudes for the partials, I have the 5 timbres, I have the 5 self-modulation controls, the 5 sum delay inputs, then I have some extra controls for the sum delay mix, feedback, and time. You can still add all of the standard controls in your interface. Here I have the reverb mix, reverb decay, and reverb damping. I'm using one of the new reverbs in this. I also put the post level on this page and a persistence control. You can go in and add in all of the other standard controls that Ed had in his example. Convolution controls, EQ controls, compressor controls, and of course more. And the nice thing about the Electra One is you can program it in Lua, so I can bring up a program and create this new scheme that the EaganMatrix uses, where I'll send out CC86 and then I'll send out the CC that is the real parameter after it, the new macro control. I can also have a routine that does the same thing for CC97, etc. And by the way, there's also some other controls and interfaces that are going to be exposed. For example, you can change the convolution type, you can change the reverb type. Almost anything you can do in the editor now, you'll be able to do through this new external interface. Again, this doesn't have to be an Electra One program. I'm thinking of using highs to create plugins that you can run on a DAW that'll do something similar. There really are a lot of options now for creating these EaganMatrix overlays. So let's take a look at the Electra One control version that I've come up with. I won't do any more talking. I'll notate what's going on as I play with the interface.